Greetings. A lot happened last week in the energy news. Let's start with solar. Reuters reported early in the week that supply chain, trade, and shipping issues were hindering the ability of developers to access panels, slowing big projects around the world and putting others at risk. Shipments of solar modules into the U.S. had declined 11% in August compared to last year and were down another 2% or so for the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of September. And in an open letter, some of the world's largest manufacturers, including LONGi, Jinko Solar, Trina, and JA, warned that soaring materials and logistics prices could, quote, seriously endanger the sustainable development of the industry, unquote. The price of polysilicon jumped by 9% last week alone after the Chinese government ordered silicon manufacturers to stop production in response to the country's current electricity supply woes. The letter also noted an 18.2% pop in solar glass prices and a 35% rise in the adhesive films over the last year. As a consequence, these companies have asked China's relevant state governments to slow down Q4 installations when the majority of their installations happen. On top of that, we had the anonymous petition from U.S. solar companies asking the Commerce Department to raise panels on imports from Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia. The U.S. Solar Energy Industries Association warned last week that such tariffs could imperil about 18 gigawatts of solar projects between now and 2023. The Commerce Department responded to this request, asking the anonymous petitioners to identify themselves before any action will be taken. So we'll see if they do and where that eventually goes. Meanwhile, some minimal efforts are being taken to onshore more production here in the United States. Florida Representative Val Demings, a Democrat, introduced the Reclaiming the Solar Supply Chain Act that would offer $3.5 billion of funding for new manufacturing facilities or retrofits and expansion of existing plants. In addition, Jinko Solar began construction on a $500 million monocrystalline ingot and wafer manufacturing plant in Vietnam that would provide additional materials for the module assembly plant it owns in Florida. Of perhaps greater import, though, was Swiss solar tech company Meyer Burger's announced plan to build a 400 megawatt facility in the U.S. that would likely manufacture high-efficiency heterojunction cells that combine crystalline silicon and amorphous silicon thin film to increase overall efficiencies. Meyer Burger says it will expand to multiple gigawatts of capacity after that first U.S. plant becomes operational by the end of next year. Let's hope to see more of that. Switching to wind, Danish company Ørsted suggested it may roll out new turbines for its 1.5 gigawatt Skåne Havsvindpark off southern Sweden, with these turbines as large potentially as 27 megawatts. To put that in perspective, they would have rotor diameters almost twice the size as the biggest ones today. Now let's look at energy storage. Last week, Arevon, the owner of some large battery storage projects here in the United States, committed to purchase 2 gigawatts of Tesla batteries. Meanwhile, the Siemens AES joint venture called Fluence said it will IPO and that it ordered about 20 gigawatt hours of batteries between now and 2024. SB Energy signed a contract to purchase 2 gigawatt hours of iron flow batteries from Oregon-based ESS to be used for massive solar projects in California and Texas. The flow battery industry has been next to moribund over recent years with very few installations around the world, so this is a huge vote of confidence in that technology. And finally, switching to batteries and wheels, Chinese electric vehicle company NIO just announced it's completed its 4 millionth battery swap among its 504 existing swap stations. And now Chinese car company and owner of Volvo, Geely, wants to further get into the swap game, planning to establish 5,000 battery swap stations in China by 2025. And it says its swapping stations can switch out the battery in 59 seconds without the driver even leaving the car. And finally, Ford and its Korean battery partner SK Innovation are planning on investments of $11.4 billion to build an electric F-150 assembly plant and 3 battery plants in the United States, accelerating the U.S. automaker's push into the EV space. Its signature investment will be a $5.6 billion campus on a 6 square mile site in Tennessee called Blue Oval City. Sounds like somebody's been reading The Wizard of Oz recently. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.